Welcome to the Happy Mama Movement podcast. I'm Amy Taylor-Kabbaz. I would like to start by acknowledging the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation on which this podcast is recorded as the traditional custodians of this land, and pay my respects to the elders past, present, and emerging. And as this podcast is dedicated to the wisdom and knowledge of motherhood, I would like to acknowledge the mothers of this land, the elders, their wisdom, their knowing, and my own elders and teachers. Hello, welcome. Welcome to this information session about the Mama Rising coaching certification, the facilitator training, and what the training includes in 2023. I am so honoured that you're here as someone who sees that we need to do things differently in the motherhood space. I honour the time you're taking to learn more about this because these are big decisions. But I hope in the next hour or so you hear exactly what you need to hear to know if this is right for you. Before we begin and I flip over to some slides to share with you, I want to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, whose land I live and work on and share this information with you, as the traditional owners of this land, and pay my respects to the elders past, present, and emerging. Please excuse my dog's tail. I also want to take this moment to acknowledge my teachers and the teachers that have shared this knowledge with me, and all the women who have shared their stories with me over the last 8 years, because without them, I would not be here. So thank you. Let's do this. Let's see what Mama Rising is all about for you. So what this really is, this training, this work, this passion, this revolution, is all about matrescence and how we need to support mothers differently. This training empowers you to take the knowledge of matrescence, the insights of thousands of women, and very specific coaching skills into the world in whichever way you feel called to. Because something needs to change. Something really needs to change in the way that mothers are feeling, and how mothers are supported, in how we value them, in how we see them. If you're a parent yourself, I know you feel this, especially after the last few years. It isn't working. The way we're doing things is not working. Our mental health around the globe is worse than ever. Thanks to COVID in the last few years, the rates of postpartum depression among American mothers alone has nearly risen 3 times, along with a massive increase in major depression and thoughts of self-harm. In one study, 78% of new mothers over the last few years reported an increase in stress, principally, of course, financial, their health concerns, the impact on their community, the access to mental health, the impact on their friends, the isolation they felt. The majority of those mothers reported that one of their biggest struggles was that they missed in-person contact. Now, although we are moving past the COVID pandemic to some extent, what the world has to understand is they are now the mothers that are returning to workplaces. They are the mothers in your business, in your community, in your yoga studio. These are the women that more than ever need a completely different way of being supported. We also know that 43% of new mothers met the criteria of clinically relevant depression over the last 2 years, and 61 of them the criteria for anxiety. More than 1/3 of those women, though, were not clinically diagnosed. They're suffering in silence at home, thinking that it's their fault and they should just be doing better. And if they just tried harder, it will get better. And also, here's a reality that we know from so many different bodies of research that although the prevailing norm in many families is that what happens is workplaces are less tolerant towards mothers taking time off, changing their hours, stepping back to be with their children than they are with the men. The men don't ask for support. They don't tell their employee that they need time off. They don't adjust their hours. In other words, we not only need a change in our culture, but we need a change in our workplace, in the way we see fathers and mothers and parents and how we support them. Women's mental health has deteriorated a far greater extent than men's. And if we look at what's happening in the workplace alone, working mums are 40% more stressed than others. 70% of them, 77% of them have felt prejudice in the workplace because of being a mother. 77%, that's nearly it's over a third, 2/3. 48% of new mothers were overlooked for career advancement because they had children, nearly half. This isn't a made-up statistic. This is actual fact that in the workplace, mothers are overlooked for promotion, career advancement, because we look at mothers, even if they're just in the general mother period of life. You've just got married, the boss will be sitting in the office thinking about who they're going to give the project to. They look around and they think, Sarah got married a few months ago. She's probably going to have a baby in the next few years. But Johnny, he's not going to go on maternity leave, so let's give him the project. This is fact. It's what happens in our workplaces. An insight gathered from research conducted with working mothers over the last 7 years shows us that women returning to the workforce often feel isolated, misunderstood, and burnt out by trying to balance their new baby and work. The thing is, we've known this for a long time, and the changes we've made in workplaces hasn't worked. Why? Why do we know these things and nothing is changing for mothers? Why do we know these things and it's actually getting worse? The rate of postnatal depression, the rate of women mothers leaving the workforce, why is it not changing? As Shelley Zallis says in Forbes magazine, I love this quote, the reason that we're losing our best leaders to caregiving isn't because women don't want to lead. It's because the system isn't setting us up for success. The rules were written more than 100 years ago when women largely weren't in the workforce. And they're no longer working in today's world, where more women graduate from college than men and are entering the workforce at equal rates. And yet they don't make it to leadership roles. Why? Because the system doesn't support them. It doesn't understand the realities of motherhood, and it doesn't understand how motherhood changes her. So therefore, we need to change the system. The world tells us to fix all of this, mothers need to do better. We tell women they need to get more organized. We tell them to lean in. You can do it all. You can have it all. You don't have to choose. We tell them that they have a choice. We make it seem like a failure if they can't keep up at work. We then tell them that if they're feeling burnt out, overwhelmed, or anxious, that they should have more self-care. Note the word self. Once again, it's back on her to fix this. If you're feeling anxious, go for a massage. If you're feeling overwhelmed, you should rest. Nowhere in these solutions is an acknowledgement that we're doing it wrong. Nowhere in these solutions is an acknowledgement that it's not her fault. It's not her fault she feels this way. It's not her fault that she's struggling to keep up with work and home. It's not her fault that she feels resentment in her relationship since becoming a mother. We tell her she needs to be superwoman, but if she asks for help, it means she's failing. And traditionally, in the coaching business, which I obviously am in, we have made her responsible for getting towards her goals again. Traditional coaching, which was and is in many cases a very masculine industry, is goal-based. Once again, we put it on her to get clear on what she wants and make sure she moves towards it. This is only adding to how she feels. We tell her the answer is outside of herself. We tell her that there is another guru, another teacher, another course, another book, another system. And if she just did that, then she'll be okay. It doesn't work. And I believe, I know with every cell of my body, the reason it doesn't work is because we have not understood the true experience of motherhood and what happens to her. And until we do that, and she knows what that is, she will continue to blame herself and think it's her fault. She's not moving forward with her goals. She's not keeping up. She's not being a good mum. She's not doing what she should do. Now you're here, so you probably already know what matrescence is. You probably already know most of my story, but let me just recap. Matrescence is the holistic understanding of what a woman goes through as she transitions into and through motherhood. These two parts are really important in the way we talk about this in Mama Rising. Matrescence is the experience of becoming a mother, but also the continual changes of motherhood. The matrescence experience of the first 12 months of motherhood is very different than the matrescence experience of your last child starting school. But each of them have a similar element. They are a transition. They are changing you. You need to reevaluate. It will change how you feel about things. It will ask you, who am I now? That's what this is all about. We help her, we guide her, we support her to understand the transitions and the transformations. So matrescence, as I said at the beginning, honoring the lineage of this word and the work that I share, was first coined by anthropologist Dana Raphael in the 1970s. Dana Raphael, if you don't know, if you're in the doula space, you'll know her work very well because you are a doula because of her. Dana Raphael was a phenomenal anthropologist who was really committed to understanding what was going wrong with the experience of motherhood in America in the 70s. Birthing had become medicalized. Breastfeeding rates were plummeting. Mothers were massively disconnected. She could see something was going wrong. And as an anthropologist, she wanted to study what was going on and look back at how we got here. That's very much what we do in Mama Rising. Where have we come from? How did we get here? And what do we need to do about it? I'll talk more about that in a second. So when she looked at this, she realized there were two things that perhaps we needed to go back to or we needed to bring back. One was the role of a doula, someone who was there to represent, support, and nourish the new mother as she became a mother. And the second was this understanding of matrescence, which she said is the becoming of the mother, transition period. But it wasn't really acknowledged in the 70s as a real thing. It was kind of dismissed until my mentor and teacher, Dr. Aurelie Athen, a clinical psychologist and head of the maternal psychology lab at Columbia University, brought the term into the world today. She rediscovered this, and in her lab and with her students and with thousands of hours of research, came up with the idea that matrescence is like adolescence. As she says, in short, just as adolescence describes a teenager's passage into adulthood, it's this period of change. They're not an adult yet. If you've got a teenager, we know this. but it's this period of transformation where they're letting go of who they used to be as a child and becoming the adult they want to be. Matrescence, similarly, describes a woman's transition into motherhood and all of the psychological and physical change that comes with it. When I heard this word, everything finally made sense. And when you share it with the mothers, parents, clients, students, everything will suddenly make sense to them too. When I became a mother 15 years ago, I had no idea what I was getting into, if any of us actually do. I thought motherhood would be something I would add to my resume in a way. I would still be completely me, who I've always been, a whole person, ambitious, individual, free, focused, strong, clear, and bonus, I'm also going to be a mum. It was like I thought it would just add on to who I already was. And then this divine creature landed on my chest and everything changed. Suddenly, I wasn't confident about anything. For the first time in my life, there wasn't just a book I could read to fix this. In fact, I read them all and I was even more confused. I felt like a failure. The birth was horrendous. I didn't trust my body. I didn't trust the thoughts I was feeling. I looked everywhere for answers. I literally went back to the hospital every day for 4 months for physio for my newborn. And while I was there, it was like I was interviewing all of the midwives and nurses around me. Tell me. I need to understand what has just happened to me. Why do I feel the way I do? I love my baby. I'd never even thought it would feel like this, but I don't understand what's happening to me. Now, if you're a parent, maybe you felt that too. Or maybe it was later in the experience of weaning, toddlers, starting school. But for all of us, there is this point where we realize, I'm different. That question that began 15 years ago led to interviewing experts around the world, writing articles for magazines, studying birth, becoming a prenatal yoga teacher, becoming a meditation teacher, starting a blog back in the day that before I knew it had thousands of mothers saying, yeah, me too. And so along the way, I kept feeling that, oh, this isn't just me. This wasn't just my experience. There is something here. So I kept going. Why do we feel the way we do? What happens when we become a mother? What happens if your ambition suddenly changes? Why does our relationship feel so different? Where did I go? Who am I now? That led to talks, workshops, events. I trained as a life coach 9 years ago and started offering group online programs and one-on-one coaching 8 years ago. And it's been the greatest privilege of my life other than motherhood. More than 5,000 women have done either my online program, one-on-one coaching, or workshops. In fact, that number would be even more by now. I've been coaching for more than 8 years. I've spent thousands of hours in libraries and reading medical research papers and interviewing experts around the world. And I can tell you, even after all of that, something was missing. I knew how to support the mama. I knew what I was talking about was real. I knew there was something there. But until I understood what matrescence was, nothing fully made sense. Because what I realized in this experience was, if we don't understand matrescence, we can't move forward. We have to understand whether you're supporting a woman who's just returned to the workplace, whether you're working in the birthing suite with her as she births her third child, whether you're helping her get back on track when she loses her way. She has to understand what has happened within her before she can move forward. Otherwise, she just keeps going the same way she's always gone. She just tries harder. She just thinks she needs to do better. She thinks that everyone else is doing better than her. We have to honor what has happened with her first. We have to share with her the insights of the ending of who she used to be and the beginning of a new self. We have to empower her to stop judging herself, thinking that she needs to be a better mother, she should be doing better in her marriage, all of those things. We need to give her a space where she can say, I love my kids, but I'm really struggling. I wish I didn't have to have them every day. She needs a place judge-free, away from the critical eyes of our society and our culture, where she gets to acknowledge that this isn't what she thought it would be, or that she's unsure of who she is anymore, and allow her to redefine herself through this. What I saw in years of coaching before I understood this was that if we just leave it up to us as individuals, we will try and move very quickly back to how we used to feel. So for example, I just want to feel good like I used to again. I just want to feel productive. I want to get back to how my relationship used to feel. We feel like the goal is to get back to where we were. And that's never going to happen. Just like asking an adult to get back to being a child. You can't ask a mother to get back to who she was before. She'll always be different. It's changed her. But these changes are positive if you understand how to work with them. These changes allow her to let go of the stories she's been holding about herself when we do it the Mama Rising way, and allow her to speak clearly, ask for what she wants, soften into motherhood, let go of things that don't work, have tough conversations at work, and really feel empowered instead of lost in these years of motherhood. I don't say it lightly, it is a revolutionary way, because a revolution is a change in the systems and culture and politics. It is a change that begins from the ground up. It is a people-led change. And what I know for sure is that as soon as a woman understands what matrescence is and how she can use that to change herself and how others see her, she wants to be a part of something bigger. That's why this training is most often taken by women who have already done like one of my programs. In the first 2 years of Mama Rising Facilitator Training, most of the students were ones who had already done my program, had redefined themselves through this, and then couldn't not now share it with others. Because as we say in Mama Rising, once we know, we must. Once we know there's a better way, and that next mother doesn't have to suffer this way and doesn't have to feel so lost and doesn't have to be so isolated. Once we know that there is a better way for her, we have to do something. We have to act. And each of us have a role here. You have an experience of matrescence, perhaps your unique lens of race or gender, your unique insight into a particular community, into a particular struggle, a trauma, an experience. We must take those unique experiences, blend them together with the research and facts and coaching skills of Mama Rising, and get out there and make this change. Because I don't want to sound melodramatic, but this is truly how I feel. We can't let this keep going like this anymore. Mothers are holding too much and think they're doing it wrong. And the next generation of children and the generation after that need us as mothers to be okay. And that's why we need this. Coaching. When we talk about coaching in Mama Rising, I just want you to remember that, look, 10 years ago when it was suggested to me that maybe I should do coaching training because I'd make a really good coach, my whole body went, oh, no thanks. I don't want to be a coach. What, like Tony Robbins on the stage yelling at people to get over it and get on with their life? No, thank you. It was only because of the phenomenal coach I had at the time, who then created a very feminine and holistic coaching school, that I realized that there was something else to this coaching industry than the very masculine, goal-driven, rah, 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 you can do anything as long as you think positive thoughts. That's not what we do here. I want this to be really, really clear. One of the main missions in Mama Rising is to revolutionize the coaching industry, to understand matrescence, to be able to support a mother without just putting more pressure on her to smash those goals and just think positively and just do your positive affirmations in the morning. I did that for years. I got up every morning and I'd write out my positive affirmations. I love being a mum. But I didn't believe it. And it wasn't until I understood this experience of matrescence and then began to work with all of these women around the world and saw that the way I was coaching, a very different formula of coaching, worked. And this formula of coaching you learn in Mama Rising can be used in all different industries and in all different ways. You don't have to be a coach to use this. These are skills we use everywhere. These are skills you will use with your employees. These are skills that you will use in your clinic. If you're a therapist, if you're a kinesiologist, if you're a reflexologist, we've got all of those women in the training. If you are we've got women who are child play experts. They work in childcare centres. They are nannies. We have women who are in boardrooms, who are leadership coaches. We have yoga teachers, doulas, midwives, social workers, and a lot of women who do very different work and feel like this is calling them. These skills you learn are translatable into all of the different areas because coaching is a skill set. And in Mama Rising, you learn the coaching skills, making sure that you don't just push her to pursue her goals no matter what. So that's the key difference here. And you learn all of the matrescence theory, research, and history. That's what makes it unique. It's like a combination of a degree in feminism, motherhood, and matrescence, and a coaching certification. So as we say in Mama Rising, a great coach is simply an amazing space holder, an active listener with the right questions, the right guidance to just get her to see things a little differently, to guide her to her own answers. We are not here to fix her. We do not have her answers. We are not here to heal. We are not here to change, help, any of those things. We simply create a space for her that she begins to understand how motherhood has changed her. And then when you get to do that, it makes me emotional. Oh my gosh, she finds her own answers. She sees herself so differently. It is a true transformation right before your eyes. You don't give her the answers. You guide her, and that's what we teach you over and over again, is how to do that. But you don't provide her with the answers because, again, that's the old model. There are no gurus. We are not here as the one sitting on top of the mountain with all of the answers. Those days are gone. The guru is you. All you need is somewhere that allows you to work through that. not rush you, helps you understand where you've been and why you're here, and then cheers you on as you move forward when you're ready. Mama Rising Facilitator Training trains you to become that space holder for this rite of passage of matrescence in whichever capacity you want to do it. As I said, this means what we learn together is active listening. Now that sounds easy. It is a very incredibly, I don't want to say difficult, complex skill. How do you listen to her and hear what she's really saying underneath? How do you listen to her and not jump in with solutions? How do you hear where she's stuck? And what do you do when you hear that she's stuck? How do you reframe her thinking without telling her to reframe her thinking and actually you should think this way? How do you hold space for her to get to the answer without rushing her when you feel like you know where she should be going? We also talk about and train you in how to whisper the words of matrescence. What this means is that in some of your work, you may be doing a presentation on this is what matrescence is. These are the steps. This is the history. This is the theory. This is why we need it. But mostly I find that's the easy part. The part that so many of the Mama Rising students and coaches struggled with is how do I whisper this to her? In other words, how do I meet her where she is? And instead of just jumping in and saying, oh yeah, that's called matrescence, and kind of throw all the information at her and tell her what she needs to do, meet her where she is and just show her that this is making sense. How do you support her without just giving her all of your information? It's a really, really defined skill that we practice over and over and over again during the training. We also give her permission to not self-silence, meaning not hold any of her worries, fears, or judgments back. We create a safe space for her to work through what she's worried about. We very clearly train you on what you are there to do and what you are not there to do. You are not a therapist. You are not a psychologist, depending on whether you actually do have those trainings on the side. We really empower you to know what she needs and how to support her with it and how to allow her to heal herself. One of the big things that we really believe in Mama Rising also is that she has to know she's not alone. One of the things the patriarchy did to mothers and women is that they separated us, put us in individual homes, and made us feel alone. There's power in a group of women. There's power in a village. There's power when we talk to each other, when we realize, oh my God, you feel like that too? So what we do is we bring them together and we show them this is what we're all feeling. So she stops judging herself and feeling isolated. And finally, you will get tools, rituals, worksheets, questions, skills to be able to do all of this so she may rise. Coaching training on its own brought me so much. I mean, it changed my life. It changed my family's life. To be able to do this work has changed me. But the specific coaching training, a very specific coaching training, doesn't bring this very unique period of her life into perspective. You need both. What we call it in Mama Rising is the inner authority and outer authority. This means that I have found the most successful and transformational coaches who work with women during the period of parenthood have both the coaching skills, the research, the understanding, but also need to understand this experience of motherhood, of womanhood. They need to reflect on their own stories of the cultural expectations of mothers and women. They need to have done this work themselves, which is what we include in this training, to be able to really step into this. And then they have their own unique flavor. Then you will be able to do this work in a really unique way. Let it be clear, Mama Rising doesn't create clones of me. It doesn't create carbon copy coaches all over the world. Mama Rising is a coaching certification that you take and use in varying and very unique ways. It's both a set structure and a very flexible way to work with mums. So there's three main parts of the training. I'm going to explain to you now the specifics of the coaching training. So in part one, which we start mid-March, we spend 6 weeks looking at matrescence, motherhood, and the patriarchy. This, like I said before, is your diploma in motherhood, matrescence, and patriarchy. It is filled with the research, the knowledge, the facts, the statistics, the understanding around how we got here, the role of feminism in motherhood, the role of the Industrial Revolution, the assumptions around what it means to be a woman and a mother, how feminism changed that and yet also disempowered mothers. We understand the research and the facts and the history around matrescence, and we break it down to the very specific learnings of how matrescence affects her body, her mind, her relationships, her career, how matrescence affects the way she feels about her money, the politics around her, her friends, how it affects her nervous system, postnatal depletion, all of it. These 6 weeks will empower you and give you the knowledge that you need to be able to talk about modern day motherhood in whichever context. Then we have a 2-week break. Then part 2 begins, which is again a 6-week period. And this is where you stop being a coach or learning how to be a coach, and instead you do this work for yourself. Over the last few years, I have interviewed so many coaches around the world, some of the best, in my opinion, coaches in the world. And every single one of them, without doubt, without failure, have said one of the best things a good coach can do is be coached. So this is why part 2 of the training is you experience the Mama Rising coaching yourself. We go through it as if you are one of my clients, as if you are one of the coach's clients. The training is not just run by me, it is run by me and 3-4 other coaching trainers. This is really important because I am not the guru of coaching. How I do it is not the only way to do it. Within this experience, you get to see many different ways of using these skills. Some of our coaches are in the professional corporate world. They have taken Mama Rising training and rolled it out in global businesses. We have had enormous success and are building enormous success in the corporate world. I'm currently in conversation with a bank, with a massive global company, in bringing Mama Rising into their workplaces. So you get coached by a coach who's in the corporate world. You get coached by a coach who is a somatic healer, a therapist, someone who works only in person and doesn't do anything online, who runs women's circles and healing retreats. And you also get coached by a life coach, someone who has been a life coach for 20 years, used to train coaches for the ICF. So you get these different experiences of how to use this. And in that, you get to feel the transformation yourself. You get to feel how different you feel. Whether you're a parent or not, this experience will show you the power of this Mama Rising way. And this is what everybody, all the previous students say they didn't expect. They didn't expect that this training would be such a personal experience. They didn't expect, because maybe some of them have done a lot of work on themselves over the years already. They're already a coach. They've done coaching courses before. This middle part, this part 2, it doesn't matter how much you have done before. I have seen over and over again, will crack you open and help you, guide you to see things so differently. And that's a really important part of it, because what mamas really need is they need to see in us examples of how we have changed the way we feel about this. And then finally, in part 3, which is the final 4 weeks after another 2-week break, we step into the actual coaching skills. How do we do this? You have so much practice. We put you in breakout rooms where you support each other. We pair you up with another Mama Rising student in your time zone, hopefully even in your local area if there is one, and you begin to practice with each other. We bring in other coaches to show you how it's done. We have examples of me and the other coaches coaching one of you in a hot seat coaching, where you watch what I do and then have a chance to say, Amy, when you did that, why did you do that? And why didn't you just do this? We get to practice and practice and practice and practice and practice. It's really, really beautiful to see all of you, if you join, build this confidence. Because again, in previous experiences of this training and coaching training myself, we can know the skills, but it's a next step to then turn around and say, okay, I'm ready. I can do this with another woman, another person now. And so by the end of this, that's what you've got. You've got lots of practice. So you feel like you can do this. So in summary, it's in total about 5 months of training and practice. But remember, that includes some of the breaks, 2 weeks and 2 weeks. You receive, as long as you hand in your assignments, of course, ICF recognized accreditation. You become a Mama Rising certified coach, which is recognized by the International Coaching Federation. This is important, I feel, because if we're going to create a revolution, which we are, we need everybody to know that this is serious. This isn't just a woo-woo, feel-good idea. This isn't just warm, fuzzy heart thing, self-love, hashtag self-love. This is a science-backed, research-driven coaching certification that transforms a woman's experience of becoming a mother and being a mother. We also give you worksheets. We give you presentation templates, whether you want to present to a corporate workplace, whether you want to present online. We give you a whole 6-week or 6-month, depending on how long you want to run it, coaching program, group coaching program, individual coaching resources. We give you training on how to hold a women's circle, how to start a coaching practice, how to use active listening. We give you so many resources that you have access to forever and ever, amen. You can then download these, tweak them, add your own branding, as long as the little trademark Mama Rising is still there. If you use them exactly as they are, you can tweak them, add them, change them. These are all for you. You also get listed on the mamarising.net website as one of our coaches. And I just want to say how successful we are starting to see this. There have been, like maybe a dozen now coaches who are growing really successful coaching businesses, getting new clients regularly without having much of a community themselves yet, that are coming through the mamarising.net website. Because to be honest, here's what happens. People listen to my podcast, or I'm interviewed on someone else's podcast, or they get my book or download the audio book. And they hear about matrescence and they cry and they get goosebumps and they think, oh my God, this is it. This is why I've been feeling the way I do. And so they jump on my website. Now, I don't work with mamas anymore. On my website, it clearly says, if you are a mama and want to know more about this and work with someone on your matrescence experience, click here. And they click over to mamarising.net and they find you. This is happening on a weekly basis at the moment for our coaches. They are getting clients through the groundswell that is coming from the Mama Rising book and work, and looking for a coach in your area with your expertise. So that is a really, really powerful thing. We also give you, of course, if you have a website, we give you a banner to put on your website. We give you some marketing branding to say, I'm a Mama Rising certified coach. We give you all of those things. Plus, I really want to say that I think this is a really important bonus in this training, is that over the last 12 months, we've worked really hard as a team to bring together a collection of coaches, master coaches around the world in different industries with different skills. So in the 5 months training, you get to hear from a coach specializing in gender diversity and inclusion. You get to hear from a coach specializing in trauma, in relationships in the workplace. You get to hear of divergent experiences of coaching, how to acknowledge someone else's culture, identity. We really want this to be a coaching certification that is diverse, inclusive. We want to acknowledge that the matrescence experience is very different through different lenses, but the way we support her can be the same. We bring our own flavor, insights, and understanding, and we use the skills we learn in Mama Rising to support her. So this group of industry experts is, I don't say this flippantly, priceless, because the coaching industry needs to change. It needs to reflect more than the white man experience. It needs to reflect a woman's experience, a Black woman's experience, a gay woman's experience, a gender diverse parent's experience. It needs to reflect so much more. And within this training, we have been very conscious of bringing in teachers and trainers for you to make sure that that happens. And we will continue to update it, bring in the best we can find. Okay, one last thing I will add about this training is that if you are interested in building a business around this, if you are wanting to know, okay, this sounds great, Amy, but then how do I start? What do I do? Or maybe you already have some level of business success, but you're ready to take this to the next level. Over the years, I have spent, and I'm no exaggeration, tens of thousands on business masterminds, business coaches, business training. It's important if we are going to be successful, and we need to be because mamas need us. We have to know how to play in this world, but how to do it in a way that honors motherhood, the feminine, our bodies, our time, our energy, acknowledges our money blocks, our fear of being seen. How do we do this while still being ourselves? And so I'm really proud to say that we now have a bonus module you can also do after you finish the 5-month training called Building Change. And this is our Matrescence business module run by our phenomenal business coach within our team, Sharon Joy. So this is 4 extra weeks. This is not part of your accreditation. You can add on these 4 weeks and do them at your own pace. They'll be available to you forever. In fact, there's so much information in these 4 weeks. I think you'd probably take 4 months to work through all of it, because within these 4 weeks, you get defining your brand values. So a full brand kit. You get how to write your bio, how to pitch to companies, to clients, defining your service. What are you going to offer? Your pricing, how to pitch to a podcast, to pitch to PR companies, how to create a media kit, how to select and optimize your social media. So where do you need to be on social media? How do you make it work? Easy alternatives if you don't even have a website yet. Understanding your client's journey, the psychology of selling. This is like gold. It's a whole mastermind of building a business that you get over 4 weeks, but you can take as long as you like to finish that. And it's only, I should add, an extra $500. Business coaching, if you've ever looked at it, is a huge investment. You get this training for $500, including live coaching with Sharon in those 4 weeks, where she'll answer your questions. So all up, the commitment for Mama Rising in March this year is approximately 5 months with those weeks breaks. It's about 2 to 3 hours a week, other than the break periods. There are some live coaching calls that you should try and get to. Obviously, you can't do all of it. And most of the training is pre-recorded because we have women all over the world. We've also found that most of our students like to do the training part of the course in their own time. So they can pause the video, make notes, unpause, the kids are somewhere else. And so most of the actual training component where I'm teaching like I am now is pre-recorded, so you don't need to be on there live. But then every week we have a coaching call where you come, you ask questions, you be coached, you get practice coaching. We alternate the times of this so you can choose which one you can attend. They're 10 a.m. Australian time or 8 p.m. Australian time, New South Wales, Sydney time, or in the different time zones, that's 11 o'clock at night in the UK or GMT, or 9 a.m. GMT. So if you're in that part of the world, you will have the 9 a.m. call that you can join. And then over in the US, in Central Standard Time, you can choose from either 5 p.m. or 3 a.m. But, if you're in different parts of America, that might be more like 6 a.m. So we think, no matter where you are in the world, one of those coaching times will be able to attend. And these are the great times that you can come along, be coached, practice, listen to live coaching, ask me questions, ask the other coaches questions. We start on the 20th of March. Enrollments close on the 28th of February, but please know we are only taking a limited number of students. This isn't an open-ended enrollment. We are nearly, as of today, which is the 18th of January, almost at 50% full. So if we get the full number of enrollments in the next 2 weeks, it will close. We cannot take more than that number simply because we want this to be an incredibly supported and personalized experience. We need to support you. We need to read your assignments. We need to make sure that you're okay, that you have what you need to succeed. So at this stage, we're almost 50% full. It will be open until the 28th of Feb, but it may close before then if the numbers are full. So last thing I wanted to add, if you're contemplating whether you should do this now in March instead of a further training, if you enroll now, by September this year, just think of this, by September this year, you'll be able to work with clients. You'll be able to charge for coaching. You'll be able to be running workshops, walking into workplaces by September. Plus, we have created a special offer for the March intake of 2023 only, that if you join for the March intake, we will, at the end of the training, give you 3 more months of support and resources for free. This is something we have just created for our Mama Rising coaches, because when it finishes, they don't want to leave. They want to keep talking to each other. They want to keep getting on coaching calls and talking about their struggles of feeling confident, their worries about how to support a mama through a relationship breakdown. And so we get on a call a couple of times a month, one with me or one of our other coaches on how to coach, how to practice. We keep doing the work. And one call a month with Sharon on the business side of things. You know, struggles with social media. What should my email be? You know, what should I write in my marketing plan? How do I approach a business? So this is a monthly support package that is available to our Mama Rising coaches, that at the end of Mama Rising this round, March 2023, you get for 3 months for free. You get an extra 3 months of support to get your business going, to get you out there coaching, but only if you enroll in March. So basically, you start in March and you have support to build your coaching practice, your business, your role until the end of the year. For the rest of the year, you will be supported to rise and rise and rise in your role as a Mama Rising activist. So as I said, we close on February 28th. These are the prices to enroll for the complete training, $4,397. Please note that that's Australian dollars. So if you've got a currency converter, figure how that translates into your currency. Or, as I said, if you wanted to add on the business module, it's only an extra $500 to do a full month of all of those business support practices for $4,897. We do have payment plans. Over 6 months, you can split these costs equally over 6 months, whether you want to add the business module or not. We have 2 different payment plans in place. I just hope that however you feel about stepping into Mama Rising training, that over the last hour or so, you have really seen how needed change is in this world for mothers and parents, that you have felt this calling to be a part of this, that you know that this is a revolution, and a revolution starts with the people most affected by it. Think about all the great revolutions of our time. Black Lives Matters, women's movements. It started by the people who were most affected, and they demanded something different. And they went out there. They gathered together. They created an army in a way, and they made change happen. This is what Mama Rising is about. It's a revolution. It's about all of us coming together and saying, no, we can't do it this way anymore. This isn't right for us or our kids or the world. And I hope you feel that within you, that calling, no matter what you decide. We need activists. We need an army. And that's what we're here to do. Any final questions, please reach out to me or one of the team. There are a few more Zoom calls organised where I'll be talking with Mama Rising coaches and facilitators about how they use this work and what they got out of it. You can also book a call with one of our coaches, just a 20-minute free chat to see if this training is right for you. Remember, 28th of February we close, but we may close earlier if we get the numbers. And thank you. Thank you for being a part of this revolution, for this change. I really, really appreciate you being here and your interest. Thank you.